you go. Appreciate all of you joining us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and of course on Twitter. Give us a follow at Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. We are just plowing through NFL Week 14, covering all the games. The moment we're done with this, we're going to switch over to TikTok Live. If you're watching us on YouTube, you don't need to go anywhere. We will continue to broadcast on YouTube right up until kickoff. That said, we are now going to shift to the 4 p.m. games. We're just motoring along right here. The next game we're going to talk about, the 9-3 Kansas City Chiefs go up against the 3-9 Denver Broncos on CBS. Where I see it, the Chiefs are a 9-point favorite. The over-under set at 44 points. Some gambling trends for you. The Chiefs are 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 meetings in Denver, while the road team is 12-5 against the spread in the last 17 meetings between the Chiefs and Broncos. And the Broncos are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 home games. As for the total, the under is 5-2-1 in the last 8 meetings between the two teams, and the under is 5-0 in the Broncos' last 5 home games. Adam, I'll start with you. Big game in the AFC West if you're the Chiefs. As for the Broncos, this is more about pride. How do you feel like this one plays out?
Yeah, Denver, obviously a tough loss. They had leading in that game at Baltimore last week. Kansas City coming off that tough loss against Cincinnati, now travels to Denver. I'll just keep this one real short. I think Kansas City with the money line is a smart play here. They seem to own Denver over the last couple of years, especially with Mahomes at quarterback. Denver's defense is always going to be there. They're always going to play tough. They're going to hold the opposing team to 20 points or less. So I absolutely love the under in this game. I would buy it up to 44, 45 and play the under in this one. And I look at it as Denver's offense won't be able to move the football. Denver's defense is on the field a lot during these games. So they're going to eventually get worn down with Kansas City. Kansas City's eventually going to wear them down and score points in this game. So I think Denver doesn't score a lot. I think Kansas City does enough to get it done. So I would buy it up, like I said, and take the under. As far as the line, I would just go Kansas City money line as we always talk about. Anything over 7, 6 or 7, it's so hard to play in the NFL these days.
I have to agree with you, Adam. I like Kansas City on the money line, and I like the under in this one. The Broncos offense just doesn't score any points, and I think the Broncos defense will play well enough. Look out for Patrick Surtain II. I talk about him almost every week. He's one of my favorite corners right now in the NFL. So for a lot of reasons, I think the under is the smart play. But the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that's an easy money line play. I am in some bets, even though I'm not going to put it out as a recommendation, in some of my personal bets, I am taking the Broncos to cover. I'm getting that at 10.5. I figure a touchdown and a half is a decent play, given that, again, I think it's low scoring. I think it'll be more competitive than people think, more because of the defense of the Broncos than anything else. Keep your eye out for Latavius Murray. I think he could have a decent day, as well as Isaiah Pacheco. The running game of the Chiefs needs to be on point today if they're going to be able to put up points against that Broncos defense. So that's one of the places I'm looking to get some action. Appreciate all of you joining us on Twitter Spaces. Give us a follow at Sports Fumble, and on Instagram, YouTube, and on TikTok at Fumble Sports. Going to continue moving on to the next game. This one has maybe the greatest storyline possible. The GOAT versus Mr. Irrelevant. But we'll get to in a moment how Brock Purdy and Tom Brady have more in common than you'd think. But as for the game itself, the Bucs are 6-6 coming into this one, going up against an 8-4 San Francisco 49ers. This game is on Fox. Where I see it, the 49ers are a 3.5-point favorite, and the over-under is set at 37 points. Before we get to some gambling trends, like I mentioned a moment ago, you would think these two quarterbacks are on polar opposite ends of the world, but they have some more things in common than you may think. Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick in 2000, didn't get his opportunity right away, but when he came in 2001 because of an injury to Drew Bledsoe, Brady not only played well, but played inside the Charlie Weiss offense that was really predicated on run the football, don't have turnovers, and let this Bill Belichick defense dominate. Well, flash forward to today, Brock Purdy is a 7th-round pick, and he's taking over a team because of an injury to Jimmy Garoppolo, in which he's going to be asked, find your talented wide receivers and running backs like Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, and let the defense go win championships for you. So while you may think that the GOAT and Mr. Irrelevant are very different, they started actually in very similar places. That said, let's get to some gambling trends now. The Bucks are 5-2 against the spread in their last 7 games when playing on a Sunday following a Monday night game. The 49ers are 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 home games. The under is 5-0 in the Bucks' last 5 road games, and the under is 6-2 in the 49ers' last 8 home games. Adam, what are your thoughts on this game between the Bucks and 49ers?
Yeah, this line is set because of the San Francisco defense and running game and how good they are on offense, right? It's not because of Brock Purdy, but he did get another week of first week reps this week, so I think that'll be good. I think San Fran is just going to rely on the run game, giving him some smart plays. You know, he's got confidence, right? He played well last week. He's got some confidence, but I think they're going to be smart with him on offense, give him some safe pass plays, run the football. But I think this game comes down to defense for me. Nick Bosa is supposed to play today. He's questionable, but they said he most likely will go. And this defense last week against Miami had 2 interceptions and 3 sacks. And that Tampa Bay offense is just absolutely stagnant. Last week, 3.5 quarters, it did absolutely nothing against New Orleans. I know Fournette is expected to play today, so that will help Tampa. In a close game, I can't lay the 4 in this game. I do like San Fran on the money line. The over-under is a little bit too low for me to make a play on it. But I think San Francisco is just an overall better team here. And with Purdy at quarterback, obviously it's a step down from Garoppolo, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. And to me, I'm just not a believer in Tampa. Like I said, their offense has been stagnant pretty much most of the year, and their defense is kind of middle in the road. They are 18th in the league against the rush, and that's where I think that San Francisco will focus on in this game. So I like San Fran with the money line and stay off the over-under.
I'm going to be quick on this one. The Butt Fumble Sports pick of the game for this is San Francisco on the money line. That said, I will take Tampa Bay to cover 5 after I buy the 1.5. I just have to believe that Tom Brady will understand how important this game is and understand also the defense he's going up against. We'll have to get the ball out quickly, find his wide receivers. The 49ers are one of the best defenses against the run, but against the pass, they're a bit more vulnerable. Not much, but a bit more vulnerable. So I have to expect Tom Brady's going to get the ball out quick, use Rachaad White in the passing game more than the running game, and try and get Godwin and Mike Evans involved. That said, the trends kind of speak to me on this one. The under is a popular play. I'll go with it just based off of what the trends are. So I will take the under. Once again, that San Francisco money line, Tampa Bay at +5 to cover, and the under 38.5 after you buy a 1.5. Appreciate all of you joining us as we race through NFL Week 14. Definitely a fast show for this Sunday morning as we're getting through it, and that way we can go to TikTok Live and answer more of your fantasy football questions. We will continue on the last game of the 4 p.m. window. This one's between the 4-8 Carolina Panthers and the 7-5 Seattle Seahawks. This one's going to be on Fox. Where I see it, Seattle is a 4-point favorite, and the over-under set at 44 points. Some gambling trends before we go to Adam for some analysis. The Panthers are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games overall, but the Panthers are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 meetings in Seattle. The over is 6-0 in the last 6 meetings in Seattle. The under is 6-2 in the Panthers' last 8 games versus NFC opponents, and the over is 7-3 in the Seahawks' last 10 games overall. Adam, what are your thoughts on this game between the Panthers and Seahawks?
So some news this morning. It sounds like Walker will be out, and as well as DJ Dallas. So that goes down to Tom Jones Jr. and Travis Homer in the backfield for Seattle. So I think that's pretty big. Your first 2 starting running backs are going to be out for Seattle. Geno Smith has been good. He's thrown at least 2 or more touchdowns in his last 6 games. And they got a win last week at the Rams to stop a 2-game slide. Carolina's coming off of a bye and heading out to Seattle. Because of the running back situation here, I'm going to stay off the line. Seattle money line could be a small play for me. But the one thing I'm looking at is the under in this game. And the reason being is Carolina's defense has been pretty good. The last 3 games, they've only allowed 10, 13, and 15 points. And their offense obviously doesn't score a whole lot. Seattle's defense last week against the Rams had 2 interceptions and 4 sacks. Carolina is 0-5 on the road this year, so that's why I kind of have a slight lean to the money line with Seattle. But I really like the under in this game when you buy it up a 1.5. Because of these 2 defenses, and especially now with both starting running backs being out for Seattle, I'm not sure where the points are going to come from in this game.
I feel very similarly to you, Adam, in terms of Geno Smith. I like Geno Smith today in the passing game, given that the running back situation for Seattle. Another running back to keep your eye on is on the other side of the ball, D'Onta Foreman. He's really come on since he got the opportunity midway through the year. He's been battling a foot injury, but he is expected to play. Seahawks run defense has just been atrocious of late. So I expect Chuba Hubbard and D'Onta Foreman to have decent days. That said, I'm going to go with Seattle. I'm going to buy the 1.5, get Seattle at -2. I'm not feeling great about this one. A lot of people in sports media world have started to talk about how the Seahawks were a hot team early in the year and they're kind of fading. I understand that, but at the same time, I think this team got new life last week in two ways. One, they played in a very emotional game against the Rams and got the win. If they had lost that, that would have been incredibly disappointing. But secondly, I think Pete Carroll and this team knows that all of a sudden they're in the hunt for not just the NFC playoffs, but the NFC West. With the injury to Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy taking over, this race is far more competitive than it was even 10 days ago. So if I'm the Seattle Seahawks, this is a must win. It's in Seattle. You have to believe Carolina traveling out to the Pacific Northwest and facing the 12 is going to have some kind of factor. I think Metcalf and Lockett both have good days. I know DK Metcalf has been banged up this week, but he is expected to be a full go. That said, once again, the Butt Fumble Sports pick for this one is Seattle to cover after you buy 1.5. Appreciate all of you joining us on Twitter Spaces. Of course, give us a follow at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and at Sports Fumble on Twitter. Let's now move to Sunday Night Football, an interesting game between a couple of quarterbacks who were drafted within one position of each other. That is Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert, as the 8-4 Miami Dolphins play the 6-6 Los Angeles Chargers on NBC. Where I see it, the Dolphins are a 3-point favorite, and the over-under set at 52.5 points. Some gambling trends before we give you analysis. The Dolphins are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 road games, while the home team is 7-3 against the spread in the last 10 meetings between the Dolphins and Chargers. The under is 12-2 in the last 14 meetings between the two teams, but the over is 4-0 in the Dolphins' last 4 road games, and the over is 7-2 in the Chargers' last 9 home games. Adam, what are your thoughts on this game? A lot of AFC playoff picture implications on the line. Who wins this game between the Dolphins and Chargers?
I have never been back and forth on the game, I don't think, in 2 years, and I have in this one. This is just going to be a great matchup, and I can make a case for both sides of the fence in this one. So Tua is going to play, and he was questionable earlier in the week, but he will play. Armstead, his tackle, is still questionable. Jalen Waddle is now off the injury list, so we should have a whole complement of offensive weapons for Miami, and that's bad news for this Chargers defense. Devontae Adams torched them for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns last week, and it's even going to get worse. 3 starters are out on the Chargers defense, including safety Derwin James. So to me, that is huge. The other thing I look at in this game is the Chargers offensive line has been absolutely terrible. They gave up 5 sacks last week. Corey Linsley will be back today, so that will help shore up that offensive line, as well as Williams, wide receiver, to help. But going back to this offensive line, the last 4 games, they've given up 16 sacks. 16 sacks in the last 4 games. That's absolutely atrocious. And Miami's last 3 games are averaging 4 sacks a game. That's 3rd in the league. So I think this game just comes down to Miami putting pressure on the Chargers. I love to take the Chargers in this game, but I just can't with everything that I've mentioned with the injuries and the way Miami can move the football through the air. I think this is going to be a tough task. So I like Miami with the money line in this one. If you can buy it down to 2.5, I'd have a slight lean on that one. And as far as the over/under, it opened at 50.5, and it's skyrocketed now to 54.5 and 55 in some places. So that is a lot of money on the over, and rightfully so. Obviously, both teams can score at will. So I'm going to lay off the over/under on this one, but I would take Miami with the money line and bet it down under 2.5. It's just back and forth on this one. Like I said, I can make a case for both sides, but just his injuries and the offensive line of the Chargers is just too much for me to overlook in this game.
Interesting. Adam and I are looking at this in a similar way, but from opposite ends. So I look at the Dolphins' offensive line, and I see how banged up they are at the tackle position. You saw how vulnerable Tua Tagovailoa was last week against the 49ers. I'm not going to claim that the Chargers' defense is nearly even in the same category of being good as the 49ers, but I see some reason to be slightly concerned about the Miami Dolphins. Meanwhile, on the other side, I'm seeing the Chargers getting healthier at wide receiver. When Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are on the field together, Justin Herbert in this offense is just better. They're different. They're superior than what people think. So my expectations for this one have kind of hinged on what the injury report is throughout the week. That said, I do like Miami on the money line simply because I think they're a more talented roster overall. I think this is an important game for them. So I do like Miami on the money line, but where Adam was kind of on the fence, I'm going to be a bit more definitive. I do like the Chargers to cover after I buy the 1.5. So the Butt Fumble Sports pick for this one is Miami on the money line and the Chargers to cover 4.5 after you buy a 1.5. Appreciate all of you joining us as we go through NFL Week 14. Had a lot of fun so far just answering all of your questions. We will now get to some best bets for the day. I'll leave Monday Night Football to tomorrow. We'll have our own show for that one. Hope you join us for that. That said, my best bets of the day go to two games from the 1 p.m. window. I like the Steelers -1.5. I'm getting that at -110. And I'm getting Jets +11.5. That's getting -145 odds. I'm buying the 1.5 on that one. So again, the Butt Fumble Sports best bets of the day are Steelers -1.5 and the Jets +11.5 after you buy a 1.5. And just to be candid, our best bets record is 18-9 on the season, though we've had a couple weeks in a row of 1-1 showings. So hopefully we can get a 2-0 day for you. Adam, I know I'm putting you a bit on the spot, but what's your best bet of the day?
Well, I have three that I like equally the same, and I buy the points up in each one of them. And that would be Cleveland, the Jets, and Minnesota. I think those are my three favorite plays of the day. But make sure you buy those points up, especially the Jets. Get that over 10. Get Minnesota over 3.5, and Cleveland at 7 to 7.5.
Appreciate all of you joining us on YouTube as we take you through NFL Week 14. Before we sign off, I will hand out some player prop bets as well, just in case you miss any of our action. I like Josh Allen over half an interception. I'm getting that at -130. I like Joe Burrow throwing an interception. I'm getting that at -115. A Nick Chubb anytime touchdown. You're getting that at even money right now. Love that play. That's been cashing throughout the year. Kirk Cousins over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I'm getting that at -130. Ezekiel Elliott anytime touchdown. I'm getting that at -148. Jared Goff over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I'm getting that at -145. Najee Harris under 55.5 rushing yards. That goes off at 115. And Derrick Henry over 106.5 rushing and receiving yards combined. I'm getting that at -115. I know this is one of our faster shows of the year so far, but I appreciate everyone joining us. Of course, Adam giving some outstanding analysis. If you're not following Adam, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Check out his Twitter at SpotterAJ. That's at SPOTTERAJ. Puts out some great analysis, knows his stuff. Definitely give him a follow. And of course, give us a follow. But Fumble Sports, a new sports content company. Follow us on Twitter at SportsFumble and on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Butt Fumble Sports. That's all we're going to do in this Twitter space. Go shoot over to TikTok Live as we're going to be answering fantasy football questions right up until 1 p.m. kickoff. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't worry. We're going to come right back in just a second, so continue to watch our channel at Butt Fumble Sports. Appreciate all of you joining us this morning. Good luck in your bets today. And of course, again, follow us at Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok Live and on YouTube. Look forward to talking to you on Monday Night Football. We'll probably be back 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday night to pregame that Arizona Cardinals Patriots game. But that said, good luck in your bets this week. Hope you all get cash tickets.
Look at the so-called